All right. Take two.
Over top of your art.
Sorry about
And while
that.
that doesn't look that crazy to the human eye, to the AI image scraper, suddenly they're seeing something wildly different. This completely confuses them, poisons their dataset, and causes the quality of the images that they generate to rapidly melt and degrade. I want my poisoning to do the maximum damage, so I'm going to go into Reddit and various other forums, looking up advice on how a beginner can make good prompts, and
Cool.
Yeah, so basically what it does, and you kind of see a little bit there in that images, is that it uses an exploit in generative AI to basically poison the samples, so that the more AI feeds off of these samples, the more corrupted they become. So like you can see here, is their first image is supposed to be a dog, and then it eventually just becomes a cat. And so that's the cool thing about these two specific AI tools. And while I'm not the biggest fan of AI, I like the way that we can potentially combat the theft of art, because obviously that is a really huge problem with AI at the moment. Um, and so obviously there's two things. There's one called Nightshade and one called Glaze, and they basically recommend using the two together in order to kind of protect your art the most. I'll put a link in later too. There's basically a tutorial for anyone who's interested, who might actually be interested in using this, because basically we'll just jump to the end timestamp, which is 1440, and it kind of explains the overall pros and cons.
using the generator, it still benefits from being used, and the environmental effects will be the same. Okay, so there's two downsides of this Nightshade technology that I can see right now. One, of course, is the visible artifacts that it needs to place on your art in order to poison it. It's not too noticeable on cartoony art with heavy line art, but in painterly pieces like the hand I drew, it can be a bit more distracting. The other thing is that if someone is checking to see if your work is AI generated, using Nightshade on it may confuse those checking software and falsely report that your work is AI generated. Not a problem if you hold onto your files or record your process, but it is something to know. For this reason, I would not Nightshade anything you're turning in for a contest, school, or to a paid client, only for posting online. All that being
Yeah,
said, I think this is a pretty great technology. I think that
and that's
Nightshade
the
and
main
Glaze
point,
are really
really.
wonderful projects, and I'm really grateful to the teams for making.
I mean,
The
that
voice
is
is
the thing.
AI? No, trust me, it's not. It's her
No,
voice.
yes. But yeah, I just thought it
So,
was really interesting to
yeah.
see, and I was kind of curious what you as an artist kind of might have thought about that.
Um, so essentially, what I understand is that before you upload anything to social media, it puts some kind of filter on it or distorts it enough
It
so that
adds
AI
in,
can't take it.
yeah, basically.
Artifacts, which are basically these. You can see them. What is it? Where is it? The nice close up that there was. Where'd you go?
Yeah, she's one of the hand, I think that she. Yeah.
There. You can't see it there. Is that without it? Oh, I can't see it. Somewhere in there. Anyway, somewhere in there, there's a you
Yeah.
can see it, but it artifacts. It creates those weird little. An early issue with AI art is that it would generate eyes on everything. And early
Mm,
Photoshop generated images was the creepiest shit. Like full AI generated, it would put eyes everywhere, and even the generate fill, which I use all the
mm,
time now. Um, when it was first introduced, you'd say, "Hey, can you just like add a little bit here or extend this?" And the amount of times you get like eyes on everything, ugh. It's like my least favorite thing is I don't like. It's called like it's not trichotillomania, but it's
Tripophobia?
pulling. Yes, that's the
Tripophobia,
one.
yeah.
Tripod phobia. Where basically I have a fear. Not it's not a fear. I just really dislike it.
Yeah,
Um,
an
where I
aversion
feel
to small
small
holes close
dots.
together. Yeah.
Yes, like caviar makes me feel sick. Spider eyes makes me feel sick. Um, like a bunch of skin stuff makes
Yeah,
anyways.
yeah.
Don't like it.
Not fun.
So when the AI
Yeah.
was spitting that out, I was fucking shitting balls. Didn't like it. Yeah, so that's essentially what it's doing is it's putting those little bits on it so that it starts to distort pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And AI can't scrape your art for its own creations, which is sad that we have to get to that point. But
Mm-hmm.
no, I'm not fully against AI art. I think I went from basically listening to, this is what happens a lot of times. You echo what social media and artists are saying, and they say AI sucks, don't use it, it's awful, this is the end of artists. And then once I actually started to embrace AI, and I was like, actually, I can see the full benefits of AI. I started to change my tune quite a bit. I think there is a place for it, and I think there is zero place for it in some regards. So my view these days is that anything that helps artists do their job quicker, especially if they are on a time-based salary and they're doing stuff that's not for them but for corporates. So, for example, if you're getting paid to do, I don't know, branding stuff, or you're doing anything that's really taxing on your body. So a lot of times things like sketching or hand-drawn animation, anything like that where AI can prevent the damage because you're doing less of it and less motor control.
Well, you're
like
kind of taking up the busy work bits, you know.
Well, not even that. Like, I used to work with an illustrator, and his hands and back were fucked. Like,
Oh,
I mean,
yeah. From just
he was
like,
he was in agony because he could no longer do his job because he was doing all the stuff. And I'm like, well,
yeah.
if he's getting paid for it, it's obviously important to him, and yes, there's a quality aspect of it. But if AI can take over some of that work so that you're not actually paying for it in your body,
Oh,
then
for
I'm
sure.
all for it. And if it's for
Well,
someone else, I'm 100% for it.
I think there's also like another thing that you could add on to that, especially like I would say it especially accounts when you've got consider the fact that like these days in especially like video games and movie industries, they are absolutely whipping their fucking artists and making them work so much harder than they should for so much less money than they should. So I can see it in those kind of things of like, you know, if you're in a position where you're basically being taken advantage of already, it's like, why the
Yep.
fuck would I? I
Yep.
might as well just get all this busy work done by AI and, you know,
Mhm.
I get to do all the important, you know, proper stuff that AI can't do. And AI can just do the busy work that it's not worth it. So like I definitely can see that like
Yeah.
and that's the thing is like, you know, with that comment that I put up before is that like it's all about who controls the tools. AI
Mhm.
can be a tool, and obviously, again, because AI obviously does have an environmental impact, I'm very conscious of making sure that we don't try to use it too fucking much because obviously we are creating a negative impact with that usage. However, if we can cut out certain, you know, things that affect climate and stuff by then using those smaller bits of AI that actually, you know, and make it an efficient thing where we're using the AI because it runs more efficiently than using the human thing, then absolutely. We're probably not going to, but, you know, idealistically, that would be how it would be used,
Yeah.
not the
I'm fully
horrible.
I'm against people using AI art to basically for a grift. I'm not a
Oh, yeah.
huge fan of that, especially when a lot of the AI art generators are scraped from other actual
Yeah.
artists, and a lot of artists
Stolen.
have managed to prove it that it's stolen. If you chuck someone's name into a generator and say I want art that looks like this person's, it will spit out art that looks like this person's, and
Yeah.
especially in the beginning it even had the bloody watermark on it. So like you
Mm-hmm.
can't say you didn't. But I also think it's the great equalizer in a lot of ways because there are people who are in poorer situations who can't afford good, nice art, and actually it's a way in which they can generate something that they wouldn't be able to buy
And not
themselves.
not
And
even
now
not only be out, yeah, they just would never buy it. So like they'll exist. There was never going to be a purchase that's stolen from someone.
that is true. Yes, if they're not someone who's going to pay for it and it's just going to go in their home, like
Yeah,
they were
and they're
never
not
going
going
to
to
pay for it in the
using
first
it.
place. It's fine. Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts and feelings, but I think at the end of the day, once I started to think about it as a tool for artists to use to prevent for things that they don't commission themselves, like if someone's asking you to make a poster, whatever, and it's actually going to do you more harm doing it for 8 hours a day. And especially when it's stuff that gets put up on a poster, for example, it's there for, or a post, it's there for a day, it gets seen a couple of thousand times, that's it. Of course, I'm going to use AI out for that. I'm not wasting my time on it. So that, and the other thing too with artists is that if we do it for job, if we do it as a job, a lot of times we lose the enjoyment of it. Especially if you're doing things like if you start to get pains from it from your wrists and your back,
For sure.
and you're doing it for weeks on end, you lose the enjoyment of art for art's sake. And that's kind of the big fallacy of if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life.
Yeah.
Absolute bullshit if you're an artist. You turn off art very quickly when you do it as a job. So I think if people can take away that creativity they're using in their jobs because they're kind of making it easy plug and play, which again is not my favorite thing to do because I get so fucking bored. But if you can do that for the shit that you get paid to do, and then you've suddenly got all this creative freedom and talent to do the stuff you want to do because you're not in agony and pain from scribbling on a thing.
Exactly.
It then reinvigorates yourself as an artist and what you can do, and you can start to make art for yourself as opposed to using that same physical energy to make art for other people. And also it proves, the only other thing is a lot of stuff these days is digital. Physical art and original art pieces are not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Even if you generated it on AI, printed it off and copied it, the physical item cannot be created by AI.
Nah.
So keep that in mind.
Yeah. I've seen enough posters around town with AI art on it, and it looks like shit. Like absolute dog shit.